And then the question is whether or not cannabis use can unmask schizotypic predisposed individuals, genetic predispositioned individuals. There's talk about a gene called the catechol-O-methyltransferase is involved in dopamine synthesis in your brain, and they think that people who have a certain type of this gene may be more predisposed to getting schizophrenia earlier. I mean, this is all just kind of, these genetic studies are very speculative, and I mean, you might be able to infer from the second point that the third point might be true, but we don't really know. There's some weak evidence. So, oops, I just jumped to the end of my talk. That's the conclusion. Currently accepted medical psychiatric definition, and they want to call it medical psychiatry now, so we get more and more like grounded in science and physicality. This is the basis of public health prevention, treatment, and diagnosis. Okay, so you can think about the prohibition of cannabis, marijuana laws as cannabis abuse disorder prevention laws. I mean, that's how they're built in the federal law. This is a prevention of abuse. So what's abuse? Okay, so in the DSM they tell us that it's a maladaptive pattern of cannabis use leading to clinically significant impairment or distress as manifested by one or more of the following occurring in a 12-month period. So recurrent cannabis use resulting in a failure to fulfill major obligations at work, like school or home, and here's some examples you can look there. Recurrent cannabis use in situations that are physically hazardous, like flying airplanes or operating machinery when impaired by cannabis use. Criterion A3 is recurrent cannabis-related legal problems. And criterion A4 is continued cannabis use despite having persistent recurrent social or interpersonal problems caused or exacerbated by the effects of cannabis, arguments with spouse over the consequences of intoxication, physical fights. Now, you can get this diagnosis in one of 15 possible ways. You only need one of those 4 criteria to satisfy the diagnosis. And in total, there's 15 possible diagnostic combinations. And so this could be an official diagnosis that I can write based on DSM. Patient X has a maladaptive pattern of substance use leading to clinically significant impairment or distress as manifested by recurrent substance-related legal problems occurring within a 12-month period. You are nuts. You have a mental disorder on your record. You can be treated now. Okay. All right. So let's say you want some guidance on what legal problems are. You're like, Sunil, come on, you're overplaying it. What are these legal problems all about? What does it say about that? Well, they tell us legal problems can arise from substance-related disorderly conduct. Legal problems may occur as a consequence of arrest for cannabis possession. Also, with the other substances, it also mentions possession and use. So you can get cocaine abuse, hallucinogen abuse disorder, all these ones, just based on possession and related legal problems. Tells us that the category of substance abuse does not apply to caffeine or nicotine. So all that coffee stuff that we were talking about, doing this with coffee, I mean, well, it's not something that we worry about with abuse, so what are you talking about? The term abuse should only be applied to a pattern of substance use that meets the criteria for this disorder. It's not a synonym for use or misuse. We're talking about abuse here. And they tell us that the legal problems, not only can they be recurrent, but they can just be persistent. So if you've been dealing with one legal issue for a whole year, or majority of the year, that's a persistent problem. Okay, and then this is the greatest. I mean, this is how the moralism gets embedded into our accepted definitions. Substance-related disorders are distinguished from non-pathological substance use, for example, social drinking, and from the use of medications for appropriate medical purposes by the presence of a pattern of multiple symptoms occurring over an extended period of time, tolerance, withdrawal, compulsive use, or the presence of substance-related legal problems. Substance problems, and as you can see, one of those problems is legal problems. This is all straight from the official book here. So some of the corollaries and implications is one way that social drinking is an example of non-pathological substance use can be distinguished from pathological cannabis-related use disorders, mental disorders, is by the presence of legal problems.
Yeah.
And one way that the use of medications for appropriate medical purposes can be distinguished from pathological cannabis-related use disorders is by the presence of legal problems. Again, so it's not considered that medications might, in fact, not be legal. We're not. Why would that be the case? And that other forms of non-pathological substance use are possible with substances aside from alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine. That's what they're telling us. This is. So inaction. So here's some other implications of what this criteria does. So the National Household Survey, the Survey on Drug Abuse, 2003, the big survey everyone hears about. So in their questions, they ask this question: during the past 12 months, did you using marijuana or hashish cause you to do things that repeatedly got you into trouble with the law? Yes or no? And in 2003, I looked at the figures, and 13.685% of the people answered yes to that question. And from those figures, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration releases a big press release. There are 22 million people in America who are abusing or dependent on drugs. Okay, you can imagine, I mean, you extrapolate from a sample, okay? If 13% of the sample had answered yes to this question, that extrapolates to a huge number of people who have this, who are abusing drugs. It's a big press, just based on this one criteria. You can see how this gets used. Also, in another study was done in JAMA, and it was talking about
we so happy we alive, we together can survive. Stop the bullshit, stop the lies, and now's the time to legalize. Tell me brother, tell me true, what the hell we gonna do? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? We so happy, we alive, we together can survive. Mother Nature, heaven sent, don't belong to government. Hey there, sister, what's the plan? Do you really understand? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? We so happy, we alive, we together can survive. Stop the bullshit, stop the lies, now's the time to legalize. Half the world up in smoke, where on earth can we take a tug? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? Human nature, full and free, modifies reality. Open up, inner flower, peace and love, inner power. Open up, inner flower, peace and love, inner power. Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me?